could do. They tested it in the neighborhood. And then they went door to door and asked everybody, we've got a list of things here that people can do. Can you tell us whether you can do them? And you know, in this neighborhood where I think a third of the people were experiencing welfare, that the smallest list was 20 things. There's nobody who couldn't do 20 things, right? And yet this was said to be a low-income, impoverished, where people didn't have any abilities. They needed to be trained. But when you really get serious about examining what skills and abilities people have, and we aren't usually very serious about it, you will find that everybody has a very significant list. The critical question is, are you organized then to take the 20 things that the folks are able to do and to connect them to those who want to have it done, either financially, for money or not for money. So that's the first thing. What skills do people have? The second thing that you'll see there is an inventory of the civic skills of people. That is, what have you organized in the neighborhood? What have you done at your church? What have you done in terms of youth activities, so that you are finding out what kinds of civic and community skills people have? What kind of participation have they been involved in? And then, and even more important, what would they like to be involved in? You know, we have very few places where people are going to the residents and their neighbors and saying, we have these things in our neighborhood that the community needs to have done. Which would you like to do with all your gifts, right? We're not organized to do that. We're organized to go to that same neighborhood and say, what's wrong here? We're going to go outside and pay somebody to come in and fix you up. You see, it's the opposite of a capacity inventory. The third thing that you'll see in that capacity inventory is they're asking people about their enterprise experience. By that, they're saying, have you ever been involved in any kind of business that you started, right? Or have you ever thought of starting a business? And if you haven't started one, would you like to start one? And what can we do to help you begin to start a business? And incidentally, we now know that more people in low-income communities have been in some kind of business, have been buying and selling stuff, right, legally, right, than in upper-income neighborhoods where they're all going to be managers and doctors and lawyers. The enterprise center of America is low-income community. We're just not organized in ways that call that forth, right? The fourth, and it's not in the book, so the fourth capacity that some neighborhood groups have focused on is people's ability to teach things. We know of one neighborhood where they created a learning exchange where they found 28,000 topics that people were prepared to teach in that neighborhood. That made the local school look pitiful, right? Because they can't teach 28,000. But if we could mobilize our teaching ability in community, right, it would be incredible how much richer we would be. And finally, the last of the capacities and gifts that have been inventoried are some that have to do with the cultural or artistic abilities of people. I think we've got a list here that we can show you that was developed in one neighborhood, and this list is a list that shows all of the kinds of things that people in a neighborhood can do aesthetically, culturally. Here you see that there were musicians, theater artists, visual artists, film artists, writers, needleworkers, fabric workers, miscellaneous crafts, and then people who knew the history of the community. And these cultural skills, right, mobilized in the community are economic resources, but they are vital to the revitalization of the spirit of neighborhood, where the culture and history, crafts and skills of the people can once again be valued and brought forward and lifted up. And those skills were all found in 8 blocks in a low-income neighborhood in Chicago. So, Jode?
And we then, as the last thing in this program, would like to invite all of you across the country to join our friends in the studio here in a couple of quick assignments that we hope you'll get to at the end of this program. John's talked about a kind of complex capacity inventory that asks a whole lot of questions about what people can do in neighborhoods. We'd like you to have some fun with doing a simplified kind of gift interview.
From Maine to New Mexico, Arkansas to Oregon, Civic Network Television is lighting up America. CNT, linking America's communities to each other and the future. Live from Washington, D.C., Civic Network Television brings you Mobilizing Community Assets. And now, our moderator, Ramona Edelin.
Now let's start Module 3, Strengths of Citizens Associations.
And so our next step is to explore this realm, the Citizens Association realm, the realm of churches and block clubs and cultural groups and athletic groups in neighborhoods. John, you want to start us down that path?
Good. Well, the reason that we want now to focus on associations is because in the years we've traveled across America looking in cities and small towns for initiatives that increase the economic and the political and the social power of local folks. What we have found as the most common mobilizer of the gifts and the capacities of local people isn't businesses, isn't agencies, isn't governments, it is associations. Now, what do we mean by associations? Well, historically, associations were first written about by a Frenchman named Alexis de Tocqueville. And he came on a tour across the United States in 1831. And in that tour, he saw two things that struck him as being unique about this country. One terrible thing and one great thing. The terrible thing was slavery, and he had a compatriot with him who wrote about slavery in America. And the other thing that he saw was how the communities here were being built. And he said, you know, in the United States, communities are not like the communities in Europe. And he said, what I see at the heart of communities in the United States is little groups of people